9 European countries gathered in Hamburg have agreed to expand offshore wind turbine projects across the North Sea.
Truck drivers from 4 Western Balkan countries have blockaded border crossings in protest to the EU's tightening of immigration rules.
A historic storm that pummeled much of the United States is not quite over yet, as more Arctic air is expected to prolong freezing temperatures.
9 European governments have agreed to expand offshore wind turbine projects across the North Sea. Energy ministers gathered in Hamburg on Monday and said the project could see electricity prices drop by 30% by 2040. The goal is to increase offshore wind capacity to 100 gigawatts by 2050 and by facilitating cross-border projects.
First and foremost, we need to produce more of our own energy. The good thing about wind, offshore wind, renewables as such, is that they are also cheaper. So not only will it be good for our security and our safety, it will also mean that we can bring down the prices of energy, that we can indeed become more competitive in Europe compared to the rest of the world.
More than 6,000 offshore turbines provide clean electricity in Europe, but deployment has been held back by weak auction design, increased costs of capital, and lack of visibility for the supply chain due to an uncertain project pipeline, according to the industry.
Greenland's mining minister Naja Nathanielsen told Euronews that there is not yet a deal between its government, Denmark, and the US. Her comments follow US President Donald Trump's announcement last week that he worked out the framework for a future deal on the Arctic territory with NATO chief Mark Rutte. She stressed that clarity on the US's intentions is needed to progress talks.
There's no deal yet. What we have is an agreement to venture into a dialogue. It's going to be, I think, maybe a number of different dialogues. I think there will be a NATO-led dialogue that has to do with maybe an increased presence from NATO in the high north. That could be Greenland. We would welcome that. Then there would be these trilateral dialogues between the US on one side and the Kingdom of Denmark, consistent in this part of Greenland and Denmark on the other side. And we still have to gain clarity about what is the American interests concretely, because we really haven't heard anything yet. And then there might be something regarding a closer business tie, and that would be a whole other dialogue as well.
Greenland's icy terrain is rich in rare earths and other minerals. Nathanielsen emphasized that any talks on Greenland's mineral resources should be kept separate from any defense agreement with Washington. She welcomed US investment in the territory's untapped mineral wealth, but warned Greenland must benefit from any deal.
I do not want to combine any form of defense agreement with access to our minerals. We need to keep these things in their separate baskets, if you will. And we are very much open to investments and collaborations with the US. We already have a memorandum of understanding that is from 2019 under Trump 1 that we have been seeking to update. But we cannot, I think, start to put it all together in the same basket because it's different things. We cannot give another country full access to our minerals. This is a rule-based country, so we, of course, you need to follow the local rules and regulations in order to gain access. But we have definitely every interest in deepening our relationship and figuring out how can we, to our mutual benefit, develop our mineral sector.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte insisted on Monday that Europe is incapable of defending itself without US military support and would have to more than double current military spending targets. Speaking at the European Parliament, Rutte told EU lawmakers that without the United States, Europe would lose the ultimate guarantor of its freedom.
And I don't mind him publishing text messages. And if anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't. We can't. We need each other.
Rutte's comments come as tensions fester within NATO over US President Donald Trump's renewed threats in recent weeks to annex Greenland, a semi-autonomous territory of NATO ally Denmark. Trump also said he was slapping new tariffs on Greenland's European backers, but later dropped his threats after a, quote, framework for a deal over the mineral-rich island was reached with Rutte's help. Not much details of the agreement have emerged.
Transport operators from 4 Western Balkan countries have blockaded border crossings in Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia in protest against the EU's tightening of entry rules. Under EU regulations, citizens of these countries can enter the Schengen area without a visa, but they can only stay there for a maximum of 90 days. The transporters are demanding that the length of stay be extended, as it's currently not sufficient for them to carry out their work. They're also demanding the scrapping of the electronic entry system, launched back in October.
Došli smo dotle da jednostavno našim vozačima, nama je oduzeto pravo za rad. Oduzeto nam je pravo na rad jer naši vozači se hapse u Europskoj uniji.
The new system is expected to be fully implemented by April and aims to prevent illegal migration and ensure consistent compliance with Schengen rules. The blockade has brought traffic on the main Balkan roads to a standstill.
Sjednemo, ako imaju dobru nameru, za 5 minuta će im biti jasno. Može svaki predlog. Vozačka viza, povećanje broja dana za profesionalne vozače ili neko treće rješenje, mi smo na sve spremni.
The truck drivers have announced that the blockade will continue until their demands are met. They're expecting a response to their letter of protest sent to the European institutions within the next 7 days. Israel's military says the body of the final hostage left in Gaza, Ron Gvili, has been recovered on Monday, clearing the way for the next phase of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire. The announcement that Gvili was found and identified comes a day after the IDF said it was conducting large-scale operations at a cemetery in northern Gaza. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the news, calling it an incredible achievement for his country and its soldiers. He told domestic media, quote, "I promised we would bring everyone home, and we have brought everyone home." The return of all remaining hostages, living or dead, has been a key part of the first phase of the ceasefire deal reached in October, brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump. Israel and Hamas have been under pressure from truce mediators, including Washington, to move into the second phase, commonly viewed as an even trickier part. The second phase aims to create an international stabilization force in the besieged territory, form a technocratic Palestinian government, and disarm Hamas. Many in Gaza say they're not optimistic, accusing Israel of not abiding by its terms under the first phase, which mandated the widespread flow of aid, immediate halt to attacks, and a full Israeli withdrawal from the enclave.
A historic storm that pummeled much of the United States is not quite over yet, as more Arctic air is expected to prolong freezing temperatures in areas already blanketed in snow and ice. Although the winter storm affected millions of Americans, its most lasting impacts are concentrated in a band from far eastern Texas across North Louisiana, Mississippi, and into Nashville, Tennessee. As the freezing temperatures persist, the death toll rose to at least 30. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands were left without electricity.
There is currently 750,000 homes across the country without power. Over 1 in 5 of them, over 20%, are here in Mississippi. We reached a peak of about 180,000. That has now down below 150,000.
Heavy snowfall stretching from Arkansas to New England caused widespread travel disruptions, flight cancellations, and school closures. The U.S. had more than 12,000 flight delays or cancellations nationwide on Monday. A day prior on Sunday, almost half of U.S. flights were canceled, the highest rate since the COVID-19 pandemic.
Four stumbling stones were laid here on the outskirts of Berlin in Johannisthal on International Holocaust Remembrance Day. They commemorate the Jewish Levi family who fled to what is now Israel during the Nazi regime. Dozens of people have come, including 7 descendants. They have traveled from Israel and Italy, including granddaughter Dana Yesharun.
It's very moving. We've been working on it for over 2 years now. They were able to discover a few facts that we didn't know about. We never knew that our great-grandfather served in the German army in the First World War, and so it was an interesting experience.
More than 116,000 so-called Stolpersteine worldwide, most of them in Germany, commemorate the horrors of National Socialism and the Holocaust. A few kilometers away in Berlin-Kreuzberg, people are also taking a stand against violence against Jews. With candles, they provide light and a feeling of warmth. As they do every week, residents hold a vigil in front of the Franke-Luther synagogue.
Also was wir im Kleinen erwirken, ist, dass Leute aus dieser Gemeinde zumindest das Gefühl haben, dass sie als jüdische Menschen nicht total allein sind und keiner sich darum kümmert, dass sie auf der Straße angefeindet werden, dass sie angespuckt werden, dass sie bedroht werden, dass sie mit Messern in Parks angegriffen werden. Das wird die Welt nicht ändern, aber eine kleine Gemeinde von Menschen fühlt sich von uns unterstützt.
Police vans provide additional security, as is the case in front of many synagogues in Germany.
Etwa 6 Millionen Menschen wurden während des Holocausts ermordet. Auch heute noch werden Juden in Deutschland diskriminiert. In den vergangenen Jahren ist die Zahl der antisemitischen Straftaten deutlich angestiegen. Laura Fleischmann aus Berlin für Euronews.